Welcome to the Powerlifting and Power Ballads podcast, where we bring you a weekly dose of powerlifting news, tips, and training advice with a touch of 80s rock ballads. This podcast is presented by Team Roar Powerlifting, your source of the most comprehensive coaching and meet day preparation. Here are your hosts, Josh Rohr and Laura Sturm.
Hello, and welcome to episode 96 of the Powerlifting and Power Ballads podcast. I am one of your hosts, Laura Sturm.
And I'm Josh Rohr. Welcome to the post nationals episode, I guess. I'm free.
Woohoo!
I'm no longer an EC member.
Wow.
It's kind of sad, actually. I'm not actually celebrating.
Well,
but you know, it is what it is.
You'll have plenty of new responsibilities as a parent.
That is true.
So
those are coming. Ready or not, here they come.
Yes. Yeah. And you won't be able to prepare no matter what you do. So there you go. So who was elected?
So Heather Foss and Eric Cordero were elected this year. So congrats to both of them. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, they'll both be good. They'll both do well in the position. It's just, you know, there's a lot of work, and I think they're both up for it and both willing to do it. So I think they'll be good.
Awesome. Well, congratulations to them.
Yeah. We had a couple rule changes though that came out of the NGB that we want to make everybody aware of. They actually go into effect the Monday after the NGB, which is, well, as of this being released 2 days ago. Today as we're recording. But the first one pertains to the bench press and the head. So there's no longer a requirement for the head to be on the bench at any point. So it can lift and go back down. It can stay up, it can stay down. It doesn't matter. The head's irrelevant at this point. Some of the arguments for that, and I guess this is actually going back to, I don't know how many years that this was a rule, but the head was never a rule until fairly recently. And I say that, but I don't know the exact year that it went into effect. But anyway, the argument for going back to how it was is it doesn't really aid the lift in any capacity. And as a referee, a side referee, there's been so many times that I've seen a 2-to-1 good lift because of a head, because the side referees can't really see all the time the head coming up. So if they're really trying to focus on the head, a lot of times they miss more blatant infractions that are actually more relevant to the lift itself. So the discussion and you know, and I'm in agreement that just getting rid of that is a good thing, because it actually doesn't, and it also gets rid of the need for the hair to be put on the side ponytail and all of those things. So it's just a lot more lifter friendly. It doesn't really aid the lifter in raising the head. It's just another one of those things that we were policing kind of for no reason, in my opinion. So
nice.
So I'm good with it.
Simplified.
Thoughts, Laura?
So is the USAPL able to make these rule changes now because they're not part of the IPF?
Yep.
Yeah. So there's freedom there too.
Yep. So, you know, just kind of getting rid of, you know, what always, there was a lot of upheaval when the rule actually went into effect, because you know there's some people that are, you know, some larger individuals that just have really thick upper backs. It's a struggle for them to put their head on the bench just normally, so let alone if you're in a bench shirt, you know, stuff like that, it kind of pulls you up and stuff like that too. So there were some people that actually had to drastically modify how they benched when this rule went into effect initially. So it's kind of gives people more freedom to bench how they are comfortable and how they're able to actually position themselves. So
interesting.
Yep. So I'm all for it.
Cool. And what other rules came about? Changes?
So yeah, the belt requirements and specifics, basically, as of, you know, Monday after the NGB 2 days ago, the only real requirement on the belt from a specs standpoint is no wider than 10 centimeters. So there's no more restrictions on buckles. You can use a Velcro belt if you want to. It can have padding in the back, any of those things. Basically, again, going for lifter friendliness, because a lot of lifters show up with, some of those belts that were just not legal before because it had padding in it, or, they had a Velcro belt. But at the end of the day, it's not aiding the lifter by using those. And, that rule, I think they discussed this in the NGB too, that rule went into effect in like 1976 or something like that. So, there's so many different variations of belts now. And like, what's the big deal if it's latched by Velcro, if it's latched by a prong lever, if it's got padding in the back, none of that aids the lifter. So what difference does it make?
Right. Wow. That's a big one.
Yeah.
I mean,
I was undecided on this one too, but like, just because, but honestly, the reason was, well, that's the way it's always been. That was my argument in my head. But then as you sit and think about it, it's like, well, why? Like, why is that?
Right.
Why was
Right.
that the rule? What is the point of the rule? If it was a safety thing, I can see that, but like, it's not, that's not even a safety issue, I don't think, because all of those belts, if that's what you feel is supportive and how you lift, like, you don't have to wear a belt. A lot of people squat without a belt. So if they want a Velcro belt, that's not a safety hazard. That's what they're comfortable with. So I don't see the reason for, restricting. I mean, obviously the logo guidelines are still in effect. So you can't have like, random logos and stickers that aren't, approved logos. But other than that, is it basically all the belts at this point meet specs now, as long as they're not wider than 10 centimeters. So
Wow.
makes it a little more lifter friendly.
Right. It kind of stymied me. Like both of these like stymied me, because I'm like, oh, these are like big things. I mean, Velcro belts are something I don't love Velcro belts, just because I have seen them like totally fly off in the middle of a lift.
Yeah.
And I think that would be an easy way for a lift to go, lifter safety a little bit. But if
somebody wants to wear it,
right,
they know they know that can happen, more power to them.
Right.
I actually think about it in terms of like a bench shirt. Like, I think a Velcro belt would actually be super convenient for a bench shirt. To kind of hold it in place and be able to get it real tight and things like that. So yeah,
craziness.
I mean, why not?
It's like freedom. You're able to go off the rule book that you want to. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And I do like the arguments for both of them. Like, neither one of them really is a aid to the lifter. Neither one of them is a safety hazard. So why are we policing things that really don't need to be policed? And I'm just like, yeah, that's a good point.
Okay. So adjusting your wrist wraps on the platform doesn't aid the lifter.
Well, that has not been changed. And I think the reason
Right.
I think the reason for that rule is more of a professional appearance. So if you got people like adjusting all kinds of stuff on the platform, especially with all the live streaming and stuff now, it just looks bad. So I think that's the reason for the rule. Again, that's a good one though, because I don't actually know the reason for the rule, but that would be my assumption of why it's there, is just to keep a uniform professional look. And you can adjust your belt, but again, with buckle belts, like, a lot of people need the rack to tighten it. So you're actually allowed to use the rack to tighten it on the platform. So that's the one thing you can adjust. But yeah.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah.
So how was nationals? I'm so anxious to hear. It was quite the week.
Yeah, it was long. I got the chickens.
That's my rooster.
That's your
There you
rooster.
go.
Yeah. Yeah. So we had 13 lifters compete. Out of those 13 lifters, we had 6 individual national champions, 5 American records broken, and 4 of the lifters earned pro cards. So
Wow.
pretty good overall. So we'll just kind of run down how each person did individually. Dimitri Lamp lifted on Tuesday. He went 5 for 9. He lifted in the 48 kilo youth division. He hit a 50 kilo squat, 25 kilo bench. Both were PRs. And then he pulled a 93 kilo American record deadlift on his 3rd attempt. He had broken it at the Georgia State meet. Somebody else broke it between then and nationals, and then he got it back at nationals. So he's pretty pumped about that. That was a big PR for him as well. Yeah, 8 years old
for a 48 kilo lifter,
and he's 8 years old.
At 8 years old.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Cool.
Yeah. Gretchen lifted on Wednesday. She did the bench only. She lifted raw and equipped. She went 1 for 3 in both of them. Actually got it on her third attempt on both of them. It was kind of a shit show with her. So it started with equipment check. I was actually working equipment check, and I did equipment check for her, and her bench shirt was actually illegal. It was sewn up wrong. So her own coach actually had to tell her she couldn't wear it at like 8 p.m. the night before she lifted.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So she, needless to say, was not too happy with me, but again, that was
How
the
did that
rules.
even happen?
Basically the seams were pinched on the outside and sewn up on the sleeve, and they're supposed to be tucked on the inside. So it was just a matter of being sewn on the wrong side. So long story short, we found a seamstress that, and she'll be able to tell the story a little bit better, but we found a seamstress at like 8 p.m. that allowed her to come over to her house, and she sewed it up at her house. And what I hear, it was a pretty weird experience. There's a weird vibe going on there, but I don't know the details or what that means. But anyway, they got it fixed. So she was able to
Gretchen
wear it.
says it's weird, then it's
Yeah.
really weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So that was the night before. That's where it started. And she opened at 116 kilos, which was a Masters 2 American record, chipping her own record. In all the chaos, I didn't realize that she was also in the open division, which means that 116 was actually an illegal number. So in the results, it's actually going to get reverted back to 115 for both of those. But she missed it on her first two, just, little technicalities, and then got it on her third. But the way the flights were set up, she was actually lifting in flight A equipped on one platform and flight B raw on another platform.
At the same time.
Well, on paper, not at the same time, but the other platform where she was in flight B had fewer lifters in flight A. So essentially her opening attempt for raw came up right after her second attempt equipped. And we would normally just pull the shirt off and go lift raw because she already hit 2, but she missed her first 2. So we had to stay in the shirt to do equipped. So basically, so she timed out on her opener raw, waiting for her third attempt equipped, made her third attempt equipped, and Gina was like holding her arms up. It was an American record, but she was also on deck for her second attempt raw. So I like grabbed her and like pulled her backstage. I'm like, you don't have time to celebrate. So I'm like pulling the shirt off and handing her t-shirt to her as she's walking over to the, on deck spot. And
Wow.
she went out for a second, just missed it pretty bad. Just being rushed, wasn't ready. But
Yeah,
then by
right,
the
right.
time the third attempt rolled around, she hit it pretty easily. So yeah, it was a cluster. It
How
was a mess.
dramatic. Holy
Yeah.
crap.
So literally her third attempt on both kept her in the meet, and she won the open equipped and masters equipped. So she actually earned her bench pro card. And then she got second in the M2s in the raw. Just didn't have a chance to really go up. And we even lowered her opener. Well, I lowered it just because I saw what was about to happen with all of these attempts, and I knew that, it would just be extra stress. So she was not real happy with the number she did, but I think it was still the right call with just the chaos that was going on with the timing of
Holy
everything.
shit. Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, which brings us to Serena, which was also a shit show. She had her bag. So she checked her bag with all her gear, which we should not have done, but the airline lost it. So basically she had to weigh in at 6 a.m. From 6 to 7:30 was the weigh-ins. And she texted me at 5 a.m. and said, I'm going to, I got a hold of, I can't remember exactly what she said, but basically she got a hold of the airline, and the airline told her that they sent it to her hotel, but the hotel never got it. So she figured out what happened. They sent it to another hotel of the same name in a different city. So at 5 a.m. she texted me like, "Hey, I'll be there to cheer everybody on, but I'm not competing. I'm going to pick up my bag, 30 minutes away." So I texted her back. I'm like, I go, "Get your bag and get your ass over here. You're still competing." So she went and got the bag, and made it to the venue at like 7:15, and weigh-ins closed at 7:30. So she hopped on the scale, made weight, and got her equipment checked like just as the deadline happened. And then competed. So she went 2 for 3. She got third in the 148 weight class. She hit a 181 bench, and that was good enough to earn her bench pro card. So after all that,
Wow. That's
both
pretty
of them,
impressive.
both her and Gretchen both just had like a terrible like lead up to the meet, like the 24 hours prior, and both of them, came through. So it was pretty
Wow.
crazy. I was a
Wow.
little stressed out. I'm not gonna lie. Just trying to get,
That's crazy.
yeah,
Yeah.
and trying to give directions to Serena like where to go too, because that place was so big. Like she hadn't been there yet because she'd been looking for her bag. So like when I got there, I went like this expo or venue is just so huge. I went to like the wrong spot by like a quarter mile. It's the same building. So I'm like trying to direct her where to
Wow.
go, and we got her in. So
Wow.
water under the bridge at this
That's
point.
crazy. But yeah, I mean, that's what happens sometimes, right? Logistics. Lesson learned, never check your gear.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah. And I thought we had talked about that, but maybe I dropped the ball there and should have made sure she knew. So anyway, that brings us to James Vang. He lifted later that afternoon on Wednesday. He went 6 for 9, got second place in the 67.5 kilo class. He was 20 kilos under his Arnold total, but it was good enough to earn his pro card. And unfortunately he missed out on the money for, the winner of that weight class was going to win, or most likely be best overall, but he ended up, I think, third overall. But currently in the Pro Series standings, he's in second, and the worst he could actually finish in the Pro Series standings is third, and top 5 go to the finals. So he's got his ticket punched to the finals, and that's going to be a rematch with CJ, the guy that beat him, plus Jared Naquin that actually had the best dots. So it's going to be a fun battle at the Arnold for the big money. So he'll get some redemption there, hopefully.
Just looking at the scorecard for James, it looked like it came down to the last deadlift.
Yeah, his third pull was to move into first, and it just didn't quite have it. He had it basically like an inch from lockout and just couldn't quite finish. But I think, I'm not sure that would have ultimately mattered, because I think CJ would have still been able to pull his third, because CJ went for a big PR, I think 606, and he could have dropped it down significantly lower to pull to beat James anyway. So if James would have made it, still would have forced him to have to make that third pull, which maybe he wouldn't have. But and I'm still kicking myself a little bit there, because Sherman was there as well, and we're usually like dead on with what numbers we think, and he wanted to take a 7.5 kilo jump, which I thought was pretty safe. But I was just looking at CJ's second attempt. I'm like, I think he's good for 10 more kilos. I think we got to jump 10. So I talked Sherman into jumping 10, and I think that was, James just missed. So if we would have went 7.5, I think he would have made it. And yeah, but then, again, would CJ have pulled it on his third to win anyway? I don't know, but
right.
It's all those what ifs that you think about after the fact. Stacy Metcalf competed on Thursday. She went 6 for 9. She won the 60 kilo M2s. So that was her, I believe that was her first national title. She had a big PR deadlift of 92.5 kilos, which was 204. That was one of the goals that she had when we first started training together, was to pull over 200 pounds. So finally checked that off the list. And what I really was happy about, though, with her is she actually missed 2 benches. And a lot of times when that happens, like, lifters have a hard time keeping their mind in it. And she just rattled off the deadlifts like it was the perfect day. So she was able to bounce back and just kind of keep all that compartmentalized. And I was really happy with how she handled all of that. So
nice.
Yep.
Yeah, because nationals, I know, can be a bit of a clusterfuck. especially nationals in Vegas, mega nationals. Yeah. And all that happening. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
That's awesome. Good for her.
Yeah. Yep. So unfortunately we did have a bomb out. Amy Pancake actually missed all three of her benches. And I gotta say, I'm just impressed that she was even able to make it. She's just had a lot going on in her life. I don't really want to speak about too much because it's not really public, but she's just had a lot on her plate. Let's put it that way. And to even 48 hours before the meet, she texted me and said, "I'll let you know in the morning if I'm flying out or not." So she was basically a game time decision if she was even going to come. So to her credit, she did. She made one squat, missed her second two, missed all three benches, and they were close. And in hindsight, I should have dropped her opener a little bit more. We did drop it just with everything that was going on, but maybe should have dropped it a little bit more in hindsight. But we were chasing that pro card in the open division as well, trying to hit a 475 dots and place second. And on a normal day, I think all of that would have been there, but this was just like perfect storm of everything just not going her way. And you know what, it is what it is. And I'm talking about it because it's not something that I want to shy away from. It happened. We're going to move on. She got an invite to the Carolina primetime meet, actually.
Nice.
So that's going to be kind of her redemption meet in October. And, we're going to get back to training. I told her, she's pretty upset about it. I told her she's got till Wednesday, which is, today, to feel sorry for herself. And then we got to get her ass back to work. So,
yeah, I mean, and it sucks to bomb out. I mean, it sucks. There's just no way around it. But like at the same time, it's like that's the one of the worst things that could happen in a meet, right? And once you live through it, you're like, oh well, okay, I'm still here, and just keep going.
Yep. I've bombed out before. You've bombed out before. Like you do this long enough. I mean, it's not that you wish it on anybody, but it does happen, especially equipped. There's so many variables with equipment. It happens. We learn from it. We move on. Do I feel sorry for her at this point? No, it's done now. Like, fuck it. Let's move on.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's keep going. Cause that was definitely not indicative of how she's a lifter.
Oh, definitely not. And I think everybody knows that. I think, she needs to know it again. So we're going to jump right back on the horse and get going again.
Yep. Awesome.
So, yeah. Olivia Vilea. Dang, she told me how to say her last name. Vilea. Vilea. I can't remember. Dang it. She's going to be pissed. I had it down though in Vegas, but anyway, Olivia went 9 for 9. She had a PR squat, PR bench, PR deadlift, and a 15 kilo PR total. This was her first nationals. She placed 9th in the open in 75 kilos, which was top 10 was really my goal for her coming in. I'm not sure exactly what her goal was, but if she could get top 10, I thought that would be huge. And she ended up 9th. She was only 7.5 kilos away from 4th. That was a really tight battle. And unfortunately there were some lifters going on the other platform at the same time. So we couldn't exactly know what we needed, but I think we hit about what she was capable of. So I think we finished, about where we were capable of. So, there's only, the difference between 14th place and 4th place was actually only 30 kilos, which is kind of a lot, but kind of not when you look at the breakdown. So there were like 4 or 5 lifters within, 2.5 to 5 kilos on either side of her. So we were right in the thick of it. So I was really happy with how she handled herself. She did a really good job, staying composed, making, actually I lied. She missed her second squat. I said she went 9 for 9. She actually missed her second on depth, I believe. And we went up anyway, because we were just looking at the scoreboard, which was a big gamble, to go up after a miss, but she came through and hit a 402 squat, which was a big PR for her.
Oh,
so
nice.
Joe House lifted on Friday, as well in the afternoon session. He went 6 for 9. He placed first in the Masters 90 kilo, M4 division. He hit an American record bench, 118.5 kilos, which is something like, I don't know, something like 262 or 261, something like that. He had a little bit of an off day. He missed his second and third pull. He actually locked out his second deadlift, but they called him for hitching a little bit. I think a lot of people were actually affected, I think, by Vegas, just the dry heat. A lot of people kind of came in a little bit too light. I think that affected him a little bit dehydrated, stuff like that. So overall, I was pretty happy with how he did. That was probably the first time he's missed more than 2 lifts since we've been working with him. So I think he was, a little bit, not super excited about that. But again, at the end of the day, things like that happen. If you compete long enough, you're not going to have a perfect day every time. And, he did what he needed to do to win. He's still in first place in the Pro Series. So, I think we're in a good position come Arnold time.
Very nice.
Cindy Yeager competed on Saturday. She went 9 for 9, placed 4th in the Masters 200 kilo class. One of her goals, she always says she hates squat, but one of her goals has always been to break a couple of the state records in Wisconsin. And she actually broke the state record squat. She squatted 281, which was a huge PR for her. She actually just about took me out running off the stage to hug me.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah. So I was pretty happy with that. It was a solid squat. And like I said, she finished out the day 9 for 9. So that was her second national meet. Pretty happy with that. Katie Dodge went 7 for 9. She got first place in the Open and first place in the Masters 1, which means she also won her pro card because she had she hit the minimum dots scored. But the highlight of that is she actually broke Leanne Blynn's Master 1 American record squat. She squatted 512 and finished with a 12.5 kilo PR total. So that was a really big day for her. And I think she's got some left. Like, that was not a max limit either. So I'm pretty excited to kind of see how much further Katie Dodge can go, because she's been competing for a while, but we've been working with her for a couple of years now, and she's really made some significant increases in her numbers. So pretty excited to see actually where she can go.
That's an amazing squat.
Yeah. And it was pretty quick too. Like, she had some left.
Nice.
But, one step at a time. So she's currently in first in the Masters Pro Series for M1 as well. And she actually jumped into the rankings for the Open as well. The Open takes the top 5. I think she's like sitting 7th or something right now. So
wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Alicia Webb, she lifted on Saturday in the primetime session. She went 8 for 9. She got 6th place in the Open and first place in the Masters 2. And she hit an American record bench at 281 on her 3rd attempt. So pretty solid day for her. She was only like, I think 4 kilos under her PR total, which she had just hit her best total at the Arnold back in March. So she's, again, a Masters 2, still basically pushing the envelope and hitting PRs. So pretty excited with that. Chris Elmore lifted on Sunday. He got 2nd in the Open, first place in the Masters 1, tied his PR total. His last pull was actually 245 kilos, which is 540. And that was to move into first place in the Open. And he just came up a little bit short there. So again, I think the other lifter made their 3rd anyway, so it wouldn't have mattered at the end of the day. But that was a big moment there, almost pulling into first. And then John Lamp was our last lifter we had on Sunday. He actually missed weight, so he had to lift as a guest lifter. But he ended up going 9 for 9, hit a PR squat, and actually he just missed the 242 weight class. So he actually was lifting as a 125 kilo, 275. He actually broke the state record total for a Masters 2 lifting as a guest lifter at Nationals. So we didn't get to medal, but we came away with the state record total. So that was a little.
So the state record still counts, even though it's not.
Yeah. So all the results are official still. It's just you can't place in the event.
That's cool. Good for him.
Yeah. So that was good. So yeah, Dimitri was the very first lifter and John was the very last lifter we had. So the Lamps were there basically all week.
Oh,
So
well, long week in Vegas.
Yeah. Yeah, but it was a good time. And we didn't have as much free time as I thought, but we did, we had a lot of fun in the house together. We stayed as a team, and most of our lifters stayed in the house, and it was a lot of fun. So yeah, that's pretty much how Vegas went.
And what happened in Vegas? Didn't necessarily stay in Vegas.
It did not. I caught COVID. So
did you really?
I really did. So it did not stay in Vegas. Came home with me.
Oh, crap.
Luckily though, luckily I didn't get too bad of symptoms. I had a little bit of a headache and a little bit of a sore throat, but mostly it was just like fatigue. There was like 3 days when I got home that I was just like so tired. I just stayed in bed the whole time. Not because I felt bad per se, but I was just so tired I couldn't do anything. So I think
coming home to your pregnant wife, like, hey, I've got COVID, honey.
Yeah. So luckily she was on call when I got home. So she wasn't at the house. And then I took a test when I got home and, was positive. So I basically, set up the spare bedroom, and that's where I lived. So.
Nice. You're feeling better now?
Yeah, I feel fine now. And the CDC says I should be fine. But I'm just being extra cautious and giving it a couple more days to stay away from my pregnant wife. So yeah, we're those people though. We took a walk, outside, both of us wearing masks. People are probably looking at us like a bunch of weirdos, but trying to keep her and the baby safe.
Yeah. Can't be overcautious with that.
Yeah. So especially, and that's the weird thing. Like I was wearing a mask in nationals too in Vegas, and somehow still caught it. But whatever. It's just one of those things.
Yeah.
So could have been worse.
Oh, absolutely.
So cool. Anything else you'd like to add?
So our new lifter tip would be, if you're going to a meet in another city and you have to fly, don't check gear.
Don't check your gear. Absolutely. That is our new lifter tip this week. You're right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Or especially in another country. Oh, and here's another one. If you lift in an international meet in gear and you have another meet coming up, don't leave your bench shirt at the hotel room. I did that. I had to have them FedEx it to me to get it back in time.
Hold on. What was this? I don't remember this.
I lifted at Bench Worlds, and then Nationals was right after that. So I was flying back, and like 2 weeks later was going to be Nationals. Lifted at Bench Worlds, left my shirt in the dresser at the hotel. Came back and was going through my gear, and I'm like, oh my God, I left it in the hotel. So they had to FedEx me my bench shirt in time to get it for Nationals.
Well, that's awesome that you were able to get it though. Like, I don't think I knew that. I must have known it at the time. Or did you just not tell me?
I don't remember.
You probably didn't tell me. Like, Josh is going to lose his shit if I tell him this.
Yeah, that was so dumb of me. Yeah. Left it in the drawer.
Dang.
Yeah. I'm pretty good at leaving things behind in hotel rooms or people's houses or trucks.
In back of the truck.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Notorious. So next week we'll get back to our regular scheduled program, and then we can talk about power ballads again.
Yeah. I love talking about power ballads.
I think we had decided that we would have a new list coming up with TV anthems, like not the anthem.
Oh yeah. I forgot. TV's intro songs.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be from the 80s, but do we need to give people time to make up their list again?
Yeah, you're on notice. We're going to probably start soliciting those next week. How about that?
Okay.
So we'll give people like 2 weeks to submit it, but we'll start next week. So you're on notice.
Don't have to be from the 80s.
Don't have to be from the 80s.
Any decade.
Any decade, best TV intro music.
Yes.
Songs, whatever you call them. Yeah, I have a great list already.
Ooh.
I'm actually watching a lot of these shows currently on Amazon Prime or Hulu, etc. So little teaser there.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll do that. So cool. I think that's it. Last thing I do want to say is we are, now that the craziness of nationals is over, we are ready to get back to work. We got some openings if anybody is interested in getting some coaching from us. I know Daria is our newest coach. She's got some availability, both online and virtually. So if you're interested in that, definitely hit us up. You can find a link to our Get Started page on Instagram, or you can just go to teamroar.com/get-started and fill out the beginning questionnaire. And then we'll also schedule a free consultation to kind of go over all the details, get you up to speed, etc. But yeah, we're ready to roll. Team's growing. Hop on the train while you can.
Don't miss out.
Yeah, that was kind of corny. Hop on the train. But anyway, welcome to the team. That's us. We're corny.
Nice. All right. Well, have a great week, and we'll catch you next week.
All right. Later.
Bye now.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode of the Powerlifting and Power Ballads podcast, please remember to subscribe and share it with your friends.